But Mark, like I said, let's start with Chan. We've spent about the last 10 or so episodes, if you like, talking about the preparations of the pitch. We've talked about infrastructure, we've talked about inspections and the like. But we haven't talked about the football. I was thinking as I came over here, what if this tournament were to kick off tomorrow? Tomorrow, I mean, the kickoff itself is not too far off, but what if it was to kick off tomorrow? What would the Uganda Cranes have to offer? And I am thinking, let's look at the football itself for now. So, yeah, what do you think? What do you think?
Well,
if
I think
we were to kick off tomorrow, what would they do?
I think an interesting question mark there. Obviously, the bulk of the team, you want to think, will come from the champions, Vipers. They've had some very, very outstanding individuals there, Mark. Abdul Karim Watambala has been up there with the best players in the league. Obviously, Alan Okello has possibly been the player of the season, but Abdul Karim Watambala is up there. He's been quite imposing in midfield for them. And obviously, Alan Okello would be an automatic starter in the team, having been, for me, the best player in the league. He was at the center of the double season for Vipers. Obviously, Alan is experienced. He's also a mainstay in the Uganda Cranes. You think that, Yunus Sentamu had a strong finish to the season, but he's not been considered in the national fold for some time. I do not know if he has issues with the federation, but he's not exactly been a favorite of FUFA in recent times.
Okay.
Yunus was part of the team which was with Cranes in the 2017 AFCON in Gabon, so he's not short on experience, but he's someone who was disciplined there when Mitchell was in charge. He fell out with the team. Actually, he was banished from the team. I was there in OEM when Mitchell threw him out of the training session in the lead up to the game against Mali. So he's had his run-ins with FUFA. But certainly, when you see the quality of the goal he scored against KC in the Uganda Cup final, there are not so many Ugandan strikers who would execute such a finish, difficult finish, after that mistake by Peter Magambo, but he made it look so easy. But then again, there are some other guys, obviously, who've been very key in the league over the last couple of seasons and who've been playing for the senior side. You're looking at Sechiganda for AC Villa. You're looking at John Patrick Kakande, obviously, who has been quite instrumental there. I like Ashraf Mugume at KCCA. I think, and obviously there is Jude Semugabi. Clearly, the players who've been called by Paul Put for the senior side in the World Cup qualifiers and AFCON qualifiers would obviously be at the fore of the team selection.
Yeah. When you talk about experience, Mark, what Yunus Kakande has done, what Yunus Sentamu rather has done at the end of the season was to remind us about his abilities, and goals have actually been a problem in domestic football, and it manifests itself on the Crane side, both in the Chan outfits, as well as in the senior Crane side that has been playing in the World Cup and AFCON qualifiers. So we do have a problem, which I realize, and it is something that I've pointed out before in different forums, as well as when FUFA asked me officially to come up with some solutions, some long-term solutions about our domestic game. Alan Okello was our top scorer in the league, 19 goals. 8 of them were penalties. The 9th should have been a penalty as well, but it was one that he missed but scored on the rebound. So, and he's playing out of attacking midfield. It's not bad for him to be scoring goals.
But he's not a striker.
He's not, and there was a time when we needed, when we had a dearth of strikers in the league scoring upwards of double figures, which is a bit of a problem now. Thankfully, if Sentamu is not going to be considered, for example, for his experience, form will carry a person like Ivan Mbisibwe into the fold. Ivan Mbisibwe has been second top scorer in the UPL to Alan Okello. He scored 16. And he had been called into the provisional squad by Paul Put when the Chan was first slated for January before it was postponed. And at that time, he had only 9 goals for URA. He went on to get another 7 to finish with 16. Thankfully, Haimsue is part of Paul Put's team that is in Morocco, that has been in Morocco this week, playing those 2 friendlies against Cameroon and the Gambia. And so he's picked up on that experience. This is somebody I like. Apparently, I understand he's even now. He's a free agent, and there's a few teams eyeing him up. So he's one. When you look at the UPL top scorers charts, there's about only 4 other guys who got into double figures. Actually, apart from Imbisibu and Okello, Judson Mugabe had 10, so did Samuel Senyonjo at Express.
Yeah.
And another Samuel who had, I think, 12 at UPDF.
The fact of the matter is that goal scoring has been our Achilles heel as a country. And the reason why Uganda Cranes have never made it beyond the group stages of CHAN, by the way, Cranes has actually, because I've only missed 1 CHAN in history. Some have always qualified, but we never make it past that group stage. It's because we've just failed to score the goals. I was in Morocco when we huffed and puffed. I think we were beaten by Zambia in the opening game. Derek Nsibambi scored the opening goal, if my memory serves me right. But then we couldn't score against Ivory Coast and Namibia. And that has been our problem since, The irony of it all, Mark, is that the last time when we threatened to advance from the group stages was in 2014, when Yunus Sentomu scored a brace for us, I think, against Burkina Faso. And we came quite close to advancing out of the group. So, that's going to be the challenge.
It's a challenge, Mark.
And being the home team, being a host country, one of the 3 countries hosting CHAN 2024, it's called CHAN 2024 because it should have been here last year. But, you're going to have to take the game to the opponents. We're in a group which has, we've got Algeria and South Africa and Guinea, and these are formidable sides.
And Niger.
So we're not going to sit back and try to pounce on the brake because you're going to have a packed Nambole, and you have to impose yourselves on the opponent. And to do that, you're going to need to bury the chances, and that has got to give Paul Put some headache.
Yeah, certainly. With those CHANs, we failed to advance that we're not playing at home. This is a home CHAN, and it's a great opportunity for us to come out of the group stages for the very first time. We've got 1 group in Kampala. There will be, I think, 2 groups in Nairobi and another group in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. That's the 4 groups. We're in Group C. Like you said, Algeria, South Africa, those should be...
those are mouth-watering ties.
Yeah, draws which should fill up Nambole easily. Yeah. Niger and Guinea.
Actually, South Africa for me, is going to be perhaps our biggest challenge because South Africa, the bulk of their side, actually the team which cleaned Uganda Cranes in was it the AFCON qualifier, World Cup qualifier?
Yes.
Last year.
Yeah.
They're playing at home.
Yeah.
They're playing at, most of them are playing for Mamelodi Sundowns. So you can expect the very guys, Mamelodi and Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs. So, and that's a very, very good team.
It's good, yeah.
So we shall have our cut out.
Yeah, when you talk about it that way, Mark, it actually reminds me, because CHAN, the Total Energies African Nations Championship, in case there's somebody out there
who's trying to ambush market.
Yeah, who hasn't seen, and ambush market, who hasn't heard of this tournament before, is for only players from the national teams that are best in their domestic leagues.
And it's very important that, Mark, you highlight it, because there's so many people who are asking, what is CHAN?
What is CHAN? Yeah,
what is CHAN? Yeah. What is CHAN?
So maybe we should have started there,
because
but we've done it so many times on these episodes. But anyway, so that's it, Mark. Yeah, but the thing is, because it's players who play in their domestic leagues, the leagues which are strong in Africa tend to shine in these tournaments, which is why Morocco has won it twice. Raja Casablanca and all those teams, Wydad and Bekane, they're always competing tough in their league. The DR Congo have won it twice, but we know about TP Mazembe and the competition they have back home.
And AS Vita and all this.
Yes. So Tunisia have won it once. We know about Esperance. We know about
Sfaxien.
Sfaxien and all those guys.
Toile du Sahel.
Tunisia once, Libya once. That's the surprise, I think.
Big surprise.
And then the defending champions are Senegal. But Senegal also do have a strong domestic league, as you know, and they churn out talent. The talent which is playing in Europe, a lot of it is Senegalese, especially in France, but these days also in England and Spain.
And so, probably right now as a model group, I think there's no country better than Senegal today in African football.
Yeah, Africa, Senegal,
today,
Senegal really are good. And they've been,
across all levels.
yeah, because they
From
won
the
the
youth to the CHAN to the senior team.
AFCON and CHAN have been held by Senegal almost at the same time.
Yeah, and I know that actually, I think FIFA wanted to make a trip to Senegal just to see what Senegal are doing right, and maybe borrow a leaf or two. I don't know if that trip happened, but something they contemplated doing last year
to go and see how
that
conveyor belts.
It cannot be by accident that Senegal. I mean, they've been African champions. They're competing in finals. They are excelling in CHAN. They're now a genuine African powerhouse. And they've got loads of players in Europe.
Yeah, and incidentally, Mark, we are talking about them less than 24 hours after they beat England.
Exactly.
The first African country to beat England in a long time. 3-1 it was last night.
And it was convincing. It wasn't a fluke. Yeah,
it was quite convincing one,
without even Sadio Mane.
Yeah, actually, it has left England doing what? In reflection mode.
Oh, yes.
As I watched Sky Sports this morning, and Thomas Tuchel had to go and defend himself in the media, saying, guys, look, the kickoff of the World Cup is not tomorrow.
The lead story of the Daily Mail, one of their more influential tabloids, is that England have got no business thinking that they can win the World Cup.
Yeah, but
actually, the headline was that to think that England can win the World Cup is an absolute joke.
Yeah, but Thomas Tuchel was defending himself and saying, look, the World Cup kicks off next year, not tomorrow. It's not my year because, and they're saying England have time to prepare. But yes, Mark,
and listen, Mark, I was at the stadium, Al Bayt Stadium, 2 years ago in Qatar, when England beat Senegal in the second round. It was a dominant performance from Jude Bellingham and all the guys. Harry Kane scored spectacular. But 2 years later, Senegal have now beaten England in England. And that was close. That was close to the best English side out they could put out there. So it shows the kind of
progress they've made in that period
over the last 700 days.
Yeah, I think we've made some progress as well from the last CHAN tournaments in which we got knocked out in the group phases. I fancy our chances, Mark. When I look at what has happened, I'd have fancied, for example, for Paul Put have included more players, more CHAN type players in the trip to Morocco.
Likewise.
But under the circumstances, because he has to balance out with the World Cup qualifiers, he has to play,
which are coming right after CHAN. Actually.
Right after CHAN,
and you won't have that many opportunities.
Yes.
To gauge them,
then the AFCON also comes at the end of the year in December in Morocco, which is not too far from CHAN.
Yeah.
So I mean, people like Toby Sibik, I mean, he needs to call them in so they can play. They haven't played that much football with the Cranes. But there was still a good bulk when I looked at that squad because the goalkeepers we're going to use at CHAN, Huntington Sebalonyi of NEC is part of that squad, and so is Joel Mutakwa of Bull.
Yeah.
And both, and I think...
Two good goalkeepers.
Yeah, and I think one of the... Mutakwa actually came on when Ismail Boateng got injured in the Gambia game. So he got some game time there. Then in defense, three of the guys were there. Nico Wadada, Vipers, Hilary Mukundane, Vipers, and Arnold Odong from Villa. So those guys have been part of that squad.
I mean, if I had my wish, I'm not exactly too sure that I would want to have Nico Wadada there. Not so much. I mean, he's experienced, but I think for me, CHAN is a tournament. It's a developmental tournament. That's how I look at it. And Wadada he's been there, done that. He should be right now on the other end of the team.
Okay.
But maybe you won't have him for a bit of stability and experience. Maybe but if I had my way, I would not consider him.
Yeah, for the original provisional squad in December that was called, Gavin Chisto was part of that. He didn't go for this trip, but Gavin Chisto would still be in the CHAN squad from KCCA.
Yeah.
And like I said, Arnold Odongo, there are several defenders from URA and NEC as well who would be in a CHAN squad.
And they're there justifiably. I mean, NEC was one of the harder teams to beat.
And then, of course, even Torach, I think, would be
there.
Torach
was outstanding for Vipers.
Part of this trip. But like I said, Mukundane is there, Arnold Odongo has been there, and so has Wadada. In the middle, you talked about Karim Watambala. He was there. So was Alan Okello, the two teammates, with Enoch Sebagal of NEC. And Enoch Sebagal actually played a bit of the Gambia game as well. I saw that. So he's somebody that you'd expect. And then they've got Nana Kwichiriza,
good midfielder.
Shafiq Nana,
KCCA.
He's part of the senior squad as well. So is John Akakande, you talked about him. So and then there's Usama Arafat. And when you combine those with the Sechigandas you talked about and all, we've got a solid midfield.
The one thing I'll give credit to Paul Put is that unlike, say, Mitchell before him. Put is someone who believes in taking the game to the opponent. He's adventurous
Yes.
when he's making substitutions, and even his mindset in the team. You look at someone who's really trying to win a game. He's not trying to hold on to what he doesn't have and then try to get a scruffy goal and cling onto it. You've seen him trying to play sometimes Travis Mutiaba and Alan Okello on the same pitch.
On the same pitch, yeah.
That is only something a coach who is adventurous in his mindset is going to try and do, because typically you'd never get Mitchell doing anything of the kind. Actually, Mitchell, when Uganda scored a goal, the first player to be substituted would probably be Alan Okello, because it would be deemed a luxury player.
The luxury at that moment when we were going defensive and
yeah,
everything.
but I've seen Paul Put playing Alan Okello, Travis Mutiaba, Rogers Mato, Dennis Omedi, and even Stephen Mukwala on the same
same team, even Jude Semga. Sometimes.
So I would want to see us lose when we're trying to actually win games.
Yeah.
As opposed to lose games when we're trying to actually lose games by defending.
Absolutely. And that's what's going to keep those fans coming back.
Oh, yes.
If we produce some attacking football, excite them, get them screaming. Like I said, my only worries are actually exactly in front of goal. The midfielders we just talked about, there's enough creativity in there out of Arafat and Nana and Alan Okello and Karim Watambala and Sechiganda and all of them.
Yeah.
If and Sebagala and all of them, if they can produce, create the chances, the pressure is then going to be on Semugabi, especially Semugabi and Ivan Ahimsiwe. Ahimsiwe is somebody I'd like to really see get an opportunity. When you're scoring domestically, I grew up in the eras where we had strikers who were getting close to 20 or above 20 per season, and these guys in the domestic league, and that manifested itself into good form on the Uganda Cranes. Some of them went on to become legends. There was no chance then. I just imagine if in the era of the Mosisis or the Sechitos or the Matthias Kawesas or the Davis Kamogas and Sekatawas, we had a competition like Chan. It would really have prepared them and sold them.
Yeah.
The kids today have that opportunity. They need to go and grab it with both hands, especially when we are playing at home and the world is coming here and with all its television cameras.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident if Chan kicked off tomorrow, we wouldn't be in such a bad place.
No, wouldn't. I think we have a team which will not embarrass us.
Yeah,
I'm almost certain. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.